just kind of good to roll right in from Dynamite, you know, from the Bellator Dynamite right into this next fight. And then I'm hoping to get probably like 2 more fights in within the next, say, 4 months.
Okay. How was that experience on Dynamite? I was at the show and it's pretty dynamic.
I mean, it was great. It was great to be part of something like that's never been done before here in the States. And, you know, it had kind of that old, like Japanese kind of pride feel a little bit to it, you know, with Dynamite. So it was great. It was great to have just big names on there, you know, big card, 4-man tournament. I mean, you know, guys like Phil Davis on there. It's great to always have guys like that, you know, fighting.
Real high-level guys. So one thing I was looking at with the level you guys train and how hard it is, you recently shifted from UFC to Bellator. And I'm having trouble with a normal person, normal job making money. What's the change in pay scale and all of that in doing that? Because I feel like this economy for everyone is so tough. But being a fighter is it's like the hardest job almost to make a successful living.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making a successful living of it, though, for years, so it's not really that big of a deal to me, but what it really came down to was, you know, dollar and cents. It came down to, you know, which promoter was going to promote me the best, which person was going to help, you know, put food on the plate and roof over my head, and that's really what it comes down to as a fighter. It's no different than the NFL guys, LeBron James leaving Miami or wherever, Cleveland to go to Miami, Miami back to Cleveland. It's no different than any of that scenario. We're really free agents, and I fought out my contract, became a free agent, and went where the best value was for me. And I think you're going to start seeing that from a lot of other fighters. You know, they're going to start just basically testing the free agent market and see exactly which promotion wants to pay them the best. I mean, because granted, to me, Bellator is basically right there. It's just a matter of time, you know. But you're going to start seeing that there's other promotions, or just Bellator in general is going to start stepping up and pulling out the guys that they really want to invest in. And I just so happen to be one of the first guys to do it.
Why do you think that there's such a disconnect for people to make that interest in basketball to singular athletes, even though it's a similar profession?
I don't really know. Honestly, that's a good question. I have no idea. I think really what it is that the NFL, the NBA, MLB, Major League Baseball, all that, right? They're the sole market, right? So you're not going to see those players going to any other organization, any other company, right? Which basically is really what the UFC is. But there's Bellator now outside of the UFC, so these fighters can go. You see it more so in boxing, where there's like the WBO, the WBC, the title contenders, you know, or one person goes from HBO to Showtime, Showtime to HBO, you know, that type of stuff. You see that happening, but I think that's really what it's going to come down to, is that people right now are afraid to leave the comfort zone. People think that the UFC is the standard, but what people need to understand, and let me just put this in perspective for you, is that you take all the top guys in the UFC, and where did they come from? They came from Strikeforce. So that lets you know that it's just a matter of time before companies like Bellator and all these other companies, you know, they start promoting top-level guys. You know, I mean, if you think Chris Weidman came from Strikeforce, Cain Velasquez came from Strikeforce, Luke Rockhold came from Strikeforce, Daniel Cormier came from Strikeforce, myself, Gilbert Melendez, we all came from Strikeforce. You know, I mean, the list can go, Jacare, the list can go on, Tim Kennedy. I can keep going and going and going of all the top guys that are in the UFC. Masvidal came from Strikeforce. You know, all these guys came from Strikeforce. Actually, Masvidal came from Bellator. You know, so if you start thinking about these things, it's just a matter of time, honestly, that once their fights are up, their contracts are up, they're going to start testing the free market agency. They're going to start seeing what these other fighters are making in the other companies. And I really don't think, I think some people will just have the nerve to just step up and bounce out.
What was your favorite moment in Strikeforce? I'm sure you get asked that a lot, but you just reflected so deeply on it. Give me a couple of memories.
There's a lot of memories, you know, fighting in front of, you know, almost 20,000 people, you know, for the very first Strikeforce event. That was one of the memories. You know, having an opportunity to train and work with Kung Lee, you know, when he beat Frank Shamrock. I was basically his main grappling and training partner for him in that fight. Even though the fight never really went to the ground, but it was a focus that I had, you know, at the time. And it was great. And as far as that, obviously winning my world title, beating Gilbert Melendez, you know, in a shutout, all 5 rounds, you know, and winning the world title, the Strikeforce world title. There's a lot of memories, you know. There's a lot of personal memories as well that I have with Strikeforce, with Scott Coker, with all the other people that work for the actual organization, how great they were to work with, how amazing it was. And a lot of those people now are with Bellator, which made the change for me so much better.
question because my man Robert the Ghost Guerrero spoke so highly of you. This guy gave me good work, and I've seen you with Ricardo Pinell. I think people don't understand how well-rounded mixed martial artists are because you're getting work with real boxers. You're not just going. You're doing. I assume you're doing it at the highest level with every element. Can you talk a little bit about some of the boxing, but also how high level every aspect of this is?
Yeah, well, let's not get carried away, though. Everybody knows when you go with great boxers, right? Look, they're just getting warmed up the first 2 rounds, you know, and me, I'm pretty much gassed out by the 4th. so you know, don't get me wrong, I'm giving good 4 or 6 rounds, but after that, they're still going. You know, they have another 4 or 5 rounds, 6 rounds in them. You know, so let's make sure that that's clear. Look, I gave Robert some rounds. I tried to do the best I could to give him some rounds. It was a pleasure working with him, man. He's a great person. Obviously, he's here local here in Gilroy. Ricardo Pinell, he's given me a lot of great work, man, and we did several times where we went 6, sometimes 8 rounds, you know, with each other. But I mean, he's great. I mean, and a lot of my guys, you know, when I was training for, you know, guys like Nate Diaz, you know, because Ricardo's left-handed, you know, Robert, you know, the Ghost, he's left-handed. These are guys that I needed to, you know, to kind of work, you know, my head movement, my slipping, getting ready for left-handed guys, which just so happens that my next opponent, you know, Pablo is actually left-handed. So it kind of plays into exactly what I've been training for the last, you know, year now. Just been working just strictly with left-handers, and it kind of helps a lot. The fact that I'm fighting another left-hander.
You've been in the fight game a long time. Give me the scouting report on the guy you're fighting.
The scouting report on him is that he's tough, man. I mean, like he's got, you know, he's got a quick little rear leg head kick. He's a little shorter guy, but short and stocky. They're not the easiest guys to deal with. You know, he does throw punches in bunches. He loads up a little bit, so hopefully I can see them coming. It's hard to deal with guys that don't really have a long reach. They have a shorter range, so they kind of get around some of your defense a little bit. Their punches seem to be a little bit more loopy, not as much as straight. I think because they're used to trying to reach for guys, reach for their heads if they're a little shorter. And other than that, I think he's someone that looks like he just keeps going, and that to me is going to be something that you know, obviously you guys saw from training today that we're definitely prepared for. You know, we just did 45 minutes of straight wrestling, you know, and wall drills, get up drills, you know, nonstop. It was just 45 minutes straight. And you guys seen, I mean, like, it's not just, I'm not just dealing with guys that are, you know, 145 pounds, 155 pounds, 160 pounds. I'm dealing sometimes with guys like Cain Velasquez, with DC, with Daniel Cormier, with, you know, with other guys that we have that are, you know, probably 180, 190. But then we also mix in, you know, top collegiate wrestlers that are just, you know, basically like #1 kids out of the nation in high school that are leaving for colleges for the top college recruits. They're in here right now. We had 4 of them in today, and, you know, it was great to have a little mix-up of, you know, the younger talent that comes in. You know, obviously they're thirsty and they want to show us, you know, how it's done. So it's nice to work with those type of kids too.
Okay. Just finally, what would you tell young fighters right now that you wish someone told you when you got into?
You know, it was never it was something that no one ever had to tell me, but it was a main focus of mine. It was just reiterated when I started training at AKA. It was that when you think you've done enough cardio, do more, you know, and there's that. And then something that I needed to be told most likely would be, you know, I wasted the beginning part of my career. It was a different time, but I wasted the beginning part of my career, just like you see with these young football players, the Johnny Manziel, perfect example. You know, wasting. It seems like wasting your talent. You know, trying to fit in with the party scene, trying to fit in. You know, being the man in the club, being the man out and about. That type of stuff will really, it'll really kill not just your bank account, but it'll kill your perception, people's perception of you, you know. And when you're talking long term in the sport, when you're talking financial sponsorships, endorsements, things like that, you know, you could potentially lose those type of things with one altercation at a club or anything like that. Fortunately, I was blessed not to be part of anything like that, but I do know and realize that there was a lot of money that went out while I was, you know, living the dream, you know, in the beginning of my career that I wish I had back. So if I had to give somebody advice, it would be something like that, along those lines of, is that, you know, just keep your pocketbook tight, you know, because it's not going to last forever.
Very last question. Where can I buy tickets and where is this event?
Oh, you can buy them at Ticketmaster, and then it's here at San Jose State Event Center, and it's here in San Jose.